This is Karl talking management for the Globe and Mail. Today I am delighted to speak to Ed Schein, who's a senior professor at MIT and has written about change for many, many years now. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning.
Ed, you've written a very interesting book, which is a one-word title. I guess if you've been in a career long enough, you're allowed to have, like Madonna, one-word title sort of thing. Your book's called Helping. What are you saying in this new book?
Well, as I observe the scene today, there are several things going on beyond the economic issues. Globalization, information technology that is creating more loose boundaries of organizations, changing nature of work, and increasing technological complexity. What all of that means to me is that the leader of the future, whatever else that leader has to be able to do, will have to be able to give and accept help, because he or she will not be able to know enough or have enough connections to be able to sit on top of an organization and make decisions. The subordinates will know more. They will be spread around the globe, connected by more and more sophisticated information technology. So helping as a skill, both to give it and to receive it, I believe will become absolutely crucial for leaders of the future.
So partly this is just more of a sense of humility, just a sense of that you have your limits. But it seems that compared to 30 years ago, that the world's more demanding, where you probably needed humility 30 years ago, but today you particularly need the sense of, I need help.
Exactly, because everything is more complicated and distributed. The reason people in leadership roles could be leaders in earlier times is because they had all the resources in their head or at their fingertips. But the leader of today is sitting in an office by himself, has a network out there someplace of people doing various projects, and each of the people below him are technical experts in some area or another. Now what's different, I think, is that we've always sort of loosely used the word help without ever really analyzing what exactly is involved in help. And I think you hit the key word when you said humility, because what I'm really pushing in the book is the idea that to be helpful, you really have to engage in humble inquiry. Instead of leaping in when somebody asks you a question, you better find out what is it they really want or need. And that requires humble inquiry. Furthermore, having to ask for help puts you kind of one down and vulnerable. So that's probably the part that's going to be hardest for leaders, is to actually admit that they need help and to go to a subordinate or a peer and say, look, what should we be doing about this particular problem? On the other hand, that subordinate will have to learn how not to jump in and say, okay, here's what we do, boss, but rather say to the boss, well, in a humble inquiry mode, well, what exactly is the problem? Let's talk about it. So for help to be helpful, the relationship has to be equilibrated. And the client, so to speak, the person seeking help, has to be lifted back to an equitable position from the one down feeling of needing help. And helpers have to be careful, therefore, not to overuse the power that's granted to them when someone asks them for help. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I was a manager at IBM, and my training as a manager is, you bring a problem, I give you a solution. Problem, solution. All day it's problem, solution. So get in this mode of always giving solutions.
Yeah.
What you're saying is may have worked in the past, but today the world's too complex. So when it's a matter of bringing a problem, we're more apt to discuss it rather than leap to a solution right away.
Well, I use a lot of examples from daily life, like a parent-child. The kid comes along and says, Dad, can you help me with my homework? the father can jump right in and do the problem. But supposing the kid really wants to talk to his father, and the only way he knows how to do that is to bring something concrete like the homework. And what the father really should be doing is saying, okay, let's sit down and talk and see whether it's really about the math problem or whether it's something else on his mind. So the same thing would, I think, apply to executives saying, I don't quite know what to do in this situation. We need to talk. We need to talk it out and see what the problem really is before any of us will have a solution.
If you were talking, let's say we're talking to 20 and 30-year-olds, so younger people that are just starting out their managerial career, what advice would you have to them to help them get to this place where they can just live this way?
Well, when I think about younger people, that brings back all the research I did on career anchors. And the first thing I think it's important is for them to understand what they're really after in their career. Are they after climbing a ladder? Are they after autonomy? Are they after security? Do they want to serve society? The first few jobs really are only a kind of a calibrating of self. So I would say to people, don't leap too quickly at any one thing. And once you know whether you want to be a technical expert or a super manager or a lone ranger, then you can develop a career path that makes sense. From an organization's point of view, that means the time they should really be doing careful selection is when a kid is 5 to 10 years into his career, not before he even enters the organization. Because I think careers are multifaceted, complex, people want different things. We keep stereotyping them as if everybody wanted to climb the corporate ladder. Of the samples I've looked at, only about a quarter of the people who come, say, out of business school actually end up wanting to be general managers.
This has been Karl Moore talking management for the Globe and Mail. Today I've been speaking to Ed Schein, a senior professor at MIT.